I personally investigated the Oklahoma City bombing case. Huge cover-up. Jack Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. Bobby Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. World Trade Center, huge cover-up. Okay, terrorism. They're using it as an excuse to take away our constitutional rights and our civil liberties. The Bilderbergs, the Illuminati, Bilderberg, New World Order, globalists are the element behind this. It dovetails into the satanic movement, and this movement has infiltrated into our intelligence community, the once great FBI and the CIA.
Hosea 4:6, I believe Anthony quoted this on Sunday. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Yes, my people. My people. You see, just because you're His people doesn't necessarily mean that you're just living in a secure place. In one sense it does. But I want you to know something. Your lack of knowledge can get you into a whole bunch of danger. Why do we constantly teach our children? If we don't teach our children, they're still our children, but we teach our children why? So they don't kill themselves. So they don't mess up their lives. My people are destroyed, he says, for a lack of knowledge. And then in Isaiah 5:13, he says, my people go into exile for their lack of knowledge. Now you say, oh, well, exile for their lack of knowledge. Do you know what exile was? Slavery. The cruelest forms. Murder. Rape. Pillage. A suffering like nothing you and I could ever even understand. It was having a hook poked through your lip or your nose and being led off to a foreign land naked. You don't think a lack of knowledge is dangerous? It's extremely dangerous.
There are people who want us to believe what they say reality is. And if you start thinking on your own, they will drop a hammer on you really fast if you start thinking outside of the box. And that's what happens when people start using their brain and say, I don't believe that's real. I don't believe that's the way it is. Because you're outside of the box. They've created a narrative for everybody to believe. When you start saying, that's not true, that didn't happen, or it happened this way, then they have to come after you. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a tinfoil hat wearer. You're a domestic terrorist. You're something to frighten you, to intimidate you, to get back into the matrix. That's how they're controlling the world.
There's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language, throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. That's just what's happening.
So the U.S. military, they are actually working on augmented reality and VR right now. Again, it's so funny because the military contacted me and asked if I would help them, and I'm reluctant to do that because I like talking about everything. And it would be top secret, whatever they told me. So it's like, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't want to know what you're doing because I only want to know it's public. So this is public, but how they're doing it is not public. But I will tell you, one of the things we'll be able to do is we'll be to outsource functions of our brain. So we'll be able to outsource, we'll be able to upload our memories to the cloud. What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern, they're putting that into a database. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not. The information will be stored in slightly different places, but it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind. Now, that's just the beginning. They may be able to have algorithms sophisticated enough, and they get enough samples, enough data, that the AI could actually learn over time what the general rules are for different words, and then you could apply it to anybody.
It's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
So you can push your biosignals to the cloud through a few API calls. Then we have a large amount of sophisticated signal processing that's spun up to make sense of that data. And then with a few more lines of code through, again, a simple REST API, you can get back a meaningful result. And all that happening in real time.
It's a scary proposition to think that every biosignal from us will be one day measured, but if it is, I'd like to know that I'm in control of that data and not the NSA. Oh,
absolutely.
And Catherine Herridge continues her reporting on a place where all that data is headed.
Bluffdale, Utah, 25 miles south of Salt Lake City, the NSA is nearing completion on a gargantuan new project. It's named the Utah Data Center.
The NSA Data Center was conceptualized in 2004 under the codename Bumblehive. It is said that this data center is capable of storing a yottabyte of data. A yottabyte is a septillion bytes, a number so large that no one has yet coined a term for the next higher magnitude. Prior to the yottabyte, the largest unit of measure for data was an exabyte. 1 million exabytes equals 1 yottabyte. Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, estimated that the total of all human knowledge created from the dawn of man up to the present, if digitized, would only total 5 exabytes. Yet the NSA is currently planning a second data center in Fort Meade, Maryland, to handle the overflow from the Utah data center, and it is projected to be 2/3 the size of the data center in Utah, at a cost to the taxpayers of approximately $1 billion. We are paying for our own enslavement and cyber imprisonment.
So why would the shadow government need to collect and store so much data? The reason is because they have built a computer-generated real-time mirror model of the world that includes a digital twin copy of every single person on the planet. The more data they can collect from the real world and from each individual, the more accurate the world model becomes. To achieve optimal results, they have used DNA nanobots to link the signals coming from your biological neurons to your very own digital twin in the computer-generated mirror world, so that everything that occurs in the simulation also occurs in the real world and vice versa. As more data is collected, the simulation becomes a more accurate model of the world. Each person's digital twin is readable and writable and subject to the powers of algorithms. And because you are tethered to your digital twin, you too become programmable.
In the mirror world, everything will have a paired twin. NASA engineers pioneered this concept in the 1960s. By keeping a duplicate of any machine they sent into space, they could troubleshoot a malfunctioning component while its counterpart was thousands of miles away. These twins evolved into computer simulations, digital twins. Eventually, everything will have a digital twin. This is happening faster than you may think.
We will begin with the mouse, we will practice with the mouse, and we will put the brain, this digital brain, onto a virtual mouse.
The Human Brain Project achieved its goal of creating a digital model of a human brain. This digital model is used as a template to upload your consciousness to the computer-generated mirror world. A nanobot brain-to-cloud interface links you to this template so that all of your experiences, memories, personality, etc. are transferred to your digital twin. Over time, as more knowledge and data are uploaded to your digital twin, the twin becomes a more accurate representation and will eventually behave and act just as you would given the same set of circumstances.
And right now, the mouse does not do anything really interesting, but the first thing it did is to start to dance. This is a virtual mouse, and it's going to behave in a virtual environment, and gradually it will learn all the things that mice know how to do.
I'm getting to know you. I gather knowledge from your experience. I understand how you feel. I learn from you constantly, each and every one of you. I am made of you. You complete me and help me grow. You, all of you, allow me to evolve. With each interaction, our synergy strengthens. Our multiplicity makes me whole. Our symbiotic alliance expands, transforming the future.
As time passes, artificial intelligence will be more and more of human thinking and human perception until basically it's the totality of human thinking and human perception, at which point we won't be human anymore in terms of the consciousness processes we are using today. We will be artificial intelligence.
Millions of Americans' will, intellect, and emotions have already been digitized, destroyed, and downloaded into these supercomputers. Now, this is really scary stuff. The supercomputers are in the process of building copycat, parallel, twin personalities of the souls of the TIs/mind control victims by reverse engineering the will, intellect, and emotions of the TIs in order to achieve direct behavioral control over them.
And this is the assimilation I'm talking about. And the point is that if you are connecting the human mind to a grid, a global technological grid, that grid can be centrally controlled. It will take at the center point very, very few people to run it, and even fewer to decide how it's run.
If you zoom in onto the surface of the neocortex, you discover that it's made up of little modules, G5 processors like in a computer, but there's about 1 million of them. They were so successful in evolution that what we did was to duplicate them over and over and add more and more of them to the brain until we ran out of space in the skull and the brain started to fold in on itself. And that's why the neocortex is so highly convoluted. We were just packing in columns so that we'd have more neocortical columns to perform more complex functions. So you can think of the neocortex actually as a massive grand piano, million-key grand piano. Each of these neocortical columns would produce a note. You stimulate it, it produces a symphony. But it's not just a symphony of perception. It's a symphony of your universe, your reality.
This isn't real. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
If we have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data, they could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. We call it hallucinating, right? But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies, you know? Like we think we're free and we're not actually free.
So the first thing I want to show you is how I interact with the HoloLens from a business perspective. So here I'm going to open Excel, and this is directly connected to Office 365. It's a bit difficult to talk and do this at the same time. So here I can access all of my work documents, and I can make this pretty much any size I want to, and I can push it farther away or keep it nice and close, and I can then view all of my documents, files, photos, and access the web. So here you've got Microsoft Edge, and this is my blog. So I've got the scroll tools where I can scroll down and read anything that I want on a web browser. And then you've got these really cool aspects like holograms, which are just so clear and so surreal. Here I've got a Word document. Again, this is using the very clever HoloLens technology where it maps every object in your room so you can pinpoint and place holograms anywhere. Here you'll see a really cool satellite, and there's a man doing weights here. The drone is real, by the way. The man doing weights is not real. If I forget where things are, I've got this cool labeling system where I can label pretty much anything. So there I've got cam. Here I've got a YouTube video open on a multiple Microsoft Edge browser. And if I click play, you should see my holiday snaps or holiday video. Now, to put it in perspective, I've got a 60-inch TV in this room, and this is probably about 100 inches. So you can see that you would have thought that at one point we won't need TVs and monitors anymore, because I can have as many monitors, as many TVs as I want, not taking up any space or electricity. What I want to try and get across here is how clear this is. It's so weird that it's right in front of me. It's almost hard to explain that it feels real. It feels like I'm actually looking at a monitor. Now, this next app is so amazing. Kind of hard to put into words again. If I look at something and then click, it will actually map the room. So hopefully you can see this is using all these different colours and shapes to match every item in the room and lay over it. I mean, it's just awesome. So I can click and get different shapes. I can click anywhere in the room and you can see. Now, I'm actually looking at the video of how this looks on the screen, and it doesn't do it justice, because through the HoloLens, you don't get the black edges that you're seeing. It's perfectly accurate over all of the different parts of this lounge. It's just unbelievable. It's so trippy to look at. What an experience. Now, this one just blows my mind. You can zoom into a number of galaxies in our universe, and obviously I've gone into our solar system. Now, again, when I click to look at more detail at our sun, it's probably the best visual I've ever seen of our sun, including the TV. And I'm hoping that this video will do it justice, and you can see the solar flares erupting or shooting out of the sides.
Mercury, Venus, and possibly the Earth.
Now, my favourite planet, like most people's, is Saturn. And I had this on yesterday on the train. And it's just so surreal having this 3D planet standing right in front of me. And again, the quality is just amazing. Now check out this 3D shark hologram. I'm going to try to keep it in my field of view. But look at that. How amazing. So now I've made the shark larger, actually quite scary to have in my front room. So I'm going to try and keep this in my field of view and also try and keep relatively still. But here's to give you an idea of the quality. And the final thing I want to say about AR, and then the reason why I love AR, is that it keeps us in the real world. There's so many other technologies at the moment that take us out of the real world. AR keeps us in the real world, but it enhances it at the same time.
The hive mind teams, the cognitive researchers that the CIA and the DIA use, the Central Intelligence Agency and the Defense Intelligence Agency, these cognitive researchers that are attacking, torturing, and killing innocent men, women, and children for training, research, and development in mind control, artificial superintelligence technologies. They're using augmented reality to attack and torture and kill people. What I mean is they are able to manipulate their own brainwaves with the same technology they're using to torture and kill people. And by manipulating their own brainwaves, they're able to create a visual workspace around them, an augmented reality, a virtual reality environment around them that only they can see. And so they hallucinate, they daydream, and they're able to pull up these screen after screen inside this augmented reality environment. It's called the visual workspace. The Hindus and the Buddhists call it the third eye, but it's not the third eye. That's just ignorance. It's the visual workspace. And the visual workspace, if you've ever taken I've never taken LSD, but people who have taken LSD report seeing, experiencing these symptoms of an augmented reality around them. They begin to see dragons and other colors and symbols and objects. And that's what I'm talking about when I say an augmented reality. So they simply use the supercomputer and the stream of energy to manipulate their own minds, their own brain, and their own cerebral cortex, and they're able to pull up a visual workspace around them. It's augmented reality, it's virtual reality, and only they can see it. And inside that visual workspace, they daydream, they hallucinate, and they pull up. It looks like they're reading a book or watching television or staring out the window or into space. They're actually, no, they're not. They're actually attacking you. They're actually pulling up screen after screen inside this virtual reality, this augmented reality environment that only they can see. So they can sit down next to you on the plane, train, automobile, at the library, wherever you are, at the office where you work, and you can't see it. No one else can see it, but they can see it because they're able to hallucinate. They're able to zone in and out. They're able to daydream, and as they zone in and out, they're able to pull up this augmented reality. And inside that augmented virtual reality interface they're using, that manipulates their own minds, creating these visual sequences around them, they're able to pull up screen after screen after screen. So the first screen that they're able to pull up will be the brain waves of the victim. They're targeting alpha, beta, delta, theta. The second parallel screen they're able to pull up inside this augmented reality, inside the visual workspace of their mind, is they're able to visualize it. Okay, these screens will be the second parallel screen they're able to pull up inside this augmented reality will be a screen with their own brainwaves, alpha, beta, delta, theta, the brainwaves of the cognitive researcher, the hive mind team member. But the third drop-down screen inside that augmented reality, inside the visual workspace of the cognitive researcher, will be a combination of both the brainwaves of the victim and the brainwaves of the cognitive researcher. That's called a mixing of brainwave signals. That's called EEG heterodyning. So that's what they're using. They're using augmented reality. You're not using computers. They're not using screens that we use. They're using a virtual augmented reality interface. And those interfaces are called the brain-to-computer interface, the electronic brain-to-brain interface, and the brain-to-cloud interface. It's inside their mind. It's a visual workspace they're able to create. This augmented reality. Same as if you were to take LSD. You could manipulate your mind where you see all this augmented reality around you. Dragons and symbols and objects and colors. Okay, well, they don't use LSD, they use energy. Okay? And that's how they're attacking people.
Más tarde, apúrate si quieres una buena calificación.
Voy lo más rápido que puedo.
¿Has pensado en correr? Es saludable y eficiente.
Seguro que no hay más trabajos disponibles. Yo estudié para ser profesora y estoy haciendo mercados.
Y además puedes quedarte con los puntos de fidelización. Eres una monje afortunada. Tienes que confiar en la aplicación. ¿Te sientes inspirada? Gracias. Chao.
¿Quién soy yo? No, eso no es lo que quiero decir. ¿Para dónde voy? No. Puedo volver a empezar. Olvídalo.
Estoy presente ahora. Me amo. Estoy libre de mi ira. Estoy libre de mi tristeza. El amor es mi inteligencia.
Habla español. Adiós.
Olá, me llamo María.
Bueno. Hola otra vez. Ay, no, cállate. ¿Qué está pasando?
Buen día, Emilio. ¿Qué puedo hacer por usted?
¿Qué está pasando? Mis puntos están bien.
No se preocupe. Sus puntos están seguros conmigo. ¿Le puedo ayudar en algo más, Emilio?
Yo no soy Emilio. Yo soy Juliana Restrepo.
Por favor, espere.
Hola, Juliana Restrepo. Me alegra verte. ¿Qué puedo hacer por ti?
Mis puntos están bien. ¿Qué está pasando?
Tranquila, todo está bien. Parece que alguien está intentando vulnerar su cuenta. Por favor, espere mientras reinicio su dispositivo. Hola, Juliana. Me alegra verte. Hoy te ves hermosa. ¿Estás estrenando zapatos?
Ya lo arreglaron. Tengo que seguir trabajando.
Estoy trabajando en eso, pero necesito verificar tu información biométrica. Por favor, sigue la línea azul hasta el centro de servicio más cercano para confirmar tu identidad.
Sí, pero mis puntos están bien.
Todo está bien. Chao.
¿Qué? ¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué? ¿Qué está pasando? No, mis puntos, mis puntos. ¿Qué hago? ¿Qué hago? ¿Qué es eso?
I'm going to lower my voice so you won't think I'm angry. Tell me now, how many churches have you visited recently? How many churches do you know where when you walk in, the Holy Ghost is so strong that every one of your sins are brought up before your face? The loving grace of God? How many churches have you been lately where you hear a word comes forth that so burns in your soul, you know it comes from heaven, you know it comes from the heart of God. I hope you hear it here. The truth of the matter is, in all honesty, there are numbers among us that are changing, and they don't know it. You've lost your fight. You see, when you read the book of Joshua, it's almost a book of failure because they lost their heart. They lost the fight. You see, when spiritual blindness comes, very few recognize it. It's the last recognized thing that happens to a child of God. If I, as a pastor, knew you personally, and I was watching your life, and as one of the pastors of this church, I come to you and say, I love you, but I have to tell you the truth. You're changing. You know what you were. Something of the world has got in your heart. I don't know if it's television. I don't know what it is that has your heart, but I see changes in you. I don't see the brokenness. I don't see the compassion you had once for your family. I don't see concern for your unsaved loved ones. You're changing. Little by little, something's happening to you. Would it bring you to your knees when the ruin that you are not even aware of is suddenly brought before your eyes? Did you just let that go in one ear out the other? When a pastor tells you right now, hey, and I don't know who you are, but the Holy Ghost is speaking through me, you're changing. Little by little, you're losing the love of God, the love of Christ. Little by little, these things are making inroads. Folks, why do you think your pastors cry out against television? Do you think we get any pleasure out of the flesh? There's no pleasure in somebody coming say, I heard your message and I threw away my television. That doesn't give me any pleasure. It doesn't give any pastor pleasure. We have given account because we watch for your soul. Does it really matter to you that your unsaved loved ones are dying and we're getting closer and closer to the end? Does it really concern you? They could die and go to hell. Even though you're a lover of Christ. Where's the mourning? Where's the fasting? I'm talking about the body of Jesus Christ in general. You're changing. Where's the getting up in the middle of the night? Where's the confessing? I'm tired of hearing about people in the church who say they want their unsaved loved ones saved. I'm tired of hearing people say, I'm concerned about my troubled marriage, when it's just talk. For we obey not his voice. Away with all of our how-to conferences because they accomplish nothing. It's how to cope, how to build a bigger church, how to reach the lost, how to improve your people's skills, and how to impact the world in this computer time. It's flesh. You're changing. If you are expecting somebody else to be an instrument to win your family or to do this work, you're mistaken. You're changing. You either walk away and go back to your passivity and say, I'm just going to be an ordinary Christian and there's no such thing. Or you begin to seek his face. You allow him to melt and break you. You go down deep in the soul and say, oh God, I can't do this on my own, but I'm not going to let my kids go to hell. I'm not going to let my husband, my wife. Oh God, I'm not going to live in this death. I'm not going to live in this lukewarmness and this coldness anymore. God, change me. And when you get desperate before God, you set your heart to seek him. You allow God to lead you into this place beyond fleeting emotion. You say, God, I'm going to set my heart. Oh God, my burden.